Hey, check out the best and worst things about each state in the United States. People talk a lot about the USA, and that's no surprise. It's one of the world's major leaders, with the largest economy on the planet, and the highest immigration rate in the world. People want to move there. It can be a great place to live, but, like every other country, it has its challenges. The same is true for each of its 50 states. Americans themselves are the first to admit that their country isn't perfect, and they're pretty open about what needs fixing. So get ready, friends, because we're going to discuss the best and worst of each state in the United States. Before we travel across all 50 states of America, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We post videos every day here on the incredible side of life, and you don't want to miss a thing. One of the coolest things about the United States is that, most of the time, Americans are proud of their accomplishments, and work to identify and correct their problems. Of course, some issues aren't that easy to fix. So, to begin our list of what's best and what needs fixing in the US, let's start by region. First up, the beautiful historic New England. Maine is the most well-behaved state, with the lowest rate of violent crime in the entire country. But if you want to broaden your horizons and meet people from different cultures and backgrounds, Maine might not be ideal. It's the least diverse state, with 94% of its population being Caucasian. Next is New Hampshire, which boasts the lowest poverty rate in the United States. On the downside, it also has the highest rate of cocaine use among young adults. Nearly 11% of the population has admitted to trying the drug in the past. Vermont is the best state in terms of gender equality when it comes to employment and income. However, people in Vermont need all that income to pay for extremely high education costs. This state has the most expensive college tuition in the nation. Massachusetts is the most educated state in the US, with over 40% of the population holding a bachelor's degree. Maybe they can use their schooling to figure out how to bring back happy hour since the state government banned it in 1984. I won't be toasting to that one. Residents of Connecticut have the cleanest teeth. Statistically, they go to the dentist most regularly. However, this state also has the worst economic inequality in the country. Bridgeport is one of the poorest cities in the US, located just a few miles from Fairfield, one of the richest. You'd think tiny Rhode Island would have an easier time with maintenance, but apparently not. This state has the worst roads and bridges in the country. On the bright side, Rhode Island has the lowest rate of workplace accidents per capita, so at least nobody is getting hurt trying to fix those roads. Now let's move to the Mid-Atlantic region. New York not only has the most densely populated city in the US, but it's also the birthplace of the largest number of presidents, 7, and vice presidents, 11. However, all those high-ranking government officials haven't done much to stop New Yorkers from paying the highest taxes in the nation. Pennsylvania is the top producer of organic mushrooms in the United States. All those delicious natural mushrooms must attract a lot of deer, because the probability of hitting a deer with your car in Pennsylvania is 1 in 63. New Jersey, despite being the butt of so many jokes, has the lowest suicide rate in the country. Yet it also has the lowest short-term fiscal stability. Basically, its economy is on a constant roller coaster. Moving on to Delaware, which is well known for being a corporate tax haven. That's why over 60% of Fortune 500 companies are based there. It's also considered the most boring state in the country, with the worst nightlife and the fewest movie theaters per capita. So what do people do on a Friday night? Maryland has the highest median household income in the country at around $80,000 a year. On the flip side, Marylanders have the worst debt-to-income ratio in the nation. Yes, there are 3 kinds of people in Maryland: those who have, those who don't, and those who don't pay for what they have. Now we head down south, where you'll find amazing food and lots of interesting stories. Virginia has the lowest asthma rate in the United States. So they have cleaner air, right? Not exactly. This state has the highest rate of toxic pollution, at about 3.6 kilograms of waste per square kilometer, with an area of nearly 111,370 square kilometers. Virginians are dealing with around 385,553 kilograms of garbage. Yikes. Next door is West Virginia, which is the most egalitarian in terms of education, race, and income level. but only 19% of the population holds a college degree. West Virginians also have the highest obesity rate in the country, 38%, and the highest death rate from opioid abuse. North Carolina has the best quality preschools. It's great that they're focusing on early childhood education, but they might want to have more libraries. They have the fewest libraries per capita in the entire United States. South Carolina generates the most nuclear energy per capita in the nation. Unfortunately, the education quality there, both K-12 and higher education, ranks among the worst, coming in 48th out of 50 states. Georgia is the birthplace of the civil rights movement, the land of peaches, and home to great roads. You'll have plenty of time to admire those roads while sitting in traffic, actually the worst traffic in the country. Florida is an awesome place to vacation, but maybe not so great for long-term living. It's home to the most popular amusement park in the world, the Magic Kingdom at Disney World. Unfortunately, Floridians are hit hardest by hurricanes and are the most vulnerable to climate change, whether people like to admit it or not. Alabama is home to the best college football in the nation. Its universities have won 16 national championships. On the other hand, math seems to be a challenge, as Alabama students have the lowest standardized test scores in the country. People in Mississippi are, to put it delicately, the biggest consumers of adult websites in the U.S., according to Fire Ramble's statistics. Some of them spend an average of 11.5 hours a day on this site. Well, each to their own. As the birthplace of the blues, they also know a thing or two about depression. Mississippi has the highest poverty rate, the worst healthcare services, the highest infant mortality rates, and the most fatal car accidents in the nation. Louisiana is famous for New Orleans and the port of South Louisiana, the largest port in the U.S., responsible for 60% of the nation's grain exports. Unfortunately, the Bayou State also has the highest incarceration rate in the country, 716 prisoners for every 100,000 residents, nearly double the national average. Arkansas is a paradise for dog lovers, with 48% of households owning at least one dog, more than any other state. This state, which gave us Bill and Hillary Clinton, also has the highest divorce rates in the country. Figuring out who gets custody of the pup must be a nightmare. Tennessee has the largest number of caves in the United States, so if you've ever wanted to explore underground, grab a group and go. The volunteer state also has the fewest dentists per capita, which is something to think about. Kentucky is another great place for cave exploration. It has the longest cave system in the world at Mammoth Cave National Park. Just remember to breathe when you go. This state has the highest rate of smoking in the U.S., so you might want to bring an inhaler. Let's move on to the landlocked states and see how the Midwest compares to the rest of the country. Missouri has the cheapest gas in the United States at around $2.50 per gallon, roughly 4 liters of unleaded gas. It was also the site of the worst dioxin disaster in U.S. history in 1983. Times Beach is still a ghost town after 2,000 residents fled 35 years ago. Since November 2012, the soil is no longer contaminated. Kansas is the country's biggest producer of wheat. Maybe those endless fields have something to do with the fact that Kansas is also considered to have the dullest natural scenery in the U.S. And to make matters worse, it's not even gluten-free. Nebraska is home to the nation's most reliable power grid. On the flip side, it has the highest rate of carbon monoxide poisoning, so if you live there, get a CO detector or two. South Dakota is the place to be if you enjoy hunting. 26% of the population hunts as a hobby. Keep in mind, though, that it also has the biggest disparity in employment and wages between different racial groups in the entire country. North Dakota is ranked as the state with the highest quality of life and the fastest-growing economy. However, watch out on the roads. It has the highest death rate in traffic accidents caused by drunk driving. In Minnesota, residents spend more money on recreational activities than any other state. Many of these activities happen in the winter for a good reason. Minnesota has the harshest winters in the country, with temperatures plunging as low as -60 degrees Fahrenheit, or -51 degrees Celsius. Iowa is often ranked as the best state to live in by Midwestern-focused magazines and reports, with impressive marks in infrastructure, healthcare, education, and overall quality of life. However, there's still room to improve in green building initiatives. Many of its structures and materials don't meet the LEED standards set by the U.S. Green Building Council. Wisconsin, the cheese state, is unsurprisingly the best in cheese production. Unfortunately, it seems to have a drinking problem. Of the top 20 cities with the highest alcohol consumption in the U.S., 12 are in Wisconsin. Michigan has the most golf courses per capita in the entire country. Golf lovers, take note. But the state government doesn't score high in integrity. Michigan ranks extremely low in transparency and fiscal responsibility. Just look at the Flint water crisis. In Ohio, bookworms will be happy. It has the highest library usage in the US. But if you suffer from allergies, you might want to think twice about living there. 7 of the 35 worst cities in the country for allergies are located in Ohio. Indiana is top-ranked in high school basketball, but the Hoosier State also leads in the number of methamphetamine labs, more than any other state. Our last stop in the Midwest is Illinois, a great place for families. It has some of the best public schools in the country. Parents, however, might not be so thrilled. Illinois carries a huge amount of debt, which usually means higher taxes. Let's head to the Southwest. Oklahoma is home to the largest casino in the country, the WinStar World Casino and Resort in Thackerville. That casino, though, isn't doing much for teachers. Oklahoma has one of the lowest average teacher salaries in the nation at $39,300 a year. Texas is the largest state among the contiguous 48, produces the most energy, and has the highest immigration rate. Over 1,000 people move there every day. Yet somehow, these folks have trouble getting to the polls, since the Lone Star State has the lowest voter turnout in the U.S., at just 39%. New Mexico has a special talent for fighting cancer. Not only are cancer rates lower there, but it also has one of the lowest mortality rates from various types of cancer. On the other hand, New Mexico has the highest rates of burglary and arson in the nation. It's ranked the worst in public safety and the worst for raising a family. Arizona is the sunniest and hottest state in the U.S., typically enjoying around 193 cloudless days a year, with average summer temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. Depending on how you feel about scorching heat, that can be either good or bad. Now, are you ready for the westernmost region of the U.S.? Colorado is the fittest state in the country, with only a 22% obesity rate. It's also the worst when it comes to motorcycle safety, with the highest number of fatal motorcycle accidents. Utah is the state with the highest regular church attendance, at 53% of the population going at least once a week. They just need to be more careful with sunscreen. Utah has the highest rate of skin cancer diagnoses in the nation. Wyoming has the smallest population, at only about 579,000 residents. You'd think not having to employ so many people would be beneficial, but Wyoming has the slowest job growth in the U.S., at minus 0.6% per year. Those lucky enough to find a job should also be cautious. Wyoming has the highest rate of fatal industrial accidents per capita. Neighboring Montana boasts the highest high school graduation rate in the country, at 93%. That's pretty impressive, considering these kids often have limited internet access. Idaho is the most entrepreneurial state in the U.S., and has the highest industrial output per capita. On the flip side, it has the greatest concentration of hate groups per capita, at about 7 groups per million people. Nevada collects more tax revenue from gambling than any other state, and has the top-ranked nightlife. No surprise there, considering Las Vegas. Surprisingly, it also has the worst social environment. Who would have guessed? California has the largest population and the largest economy of any U.S. state. Nearly 40 million people live there, producing a GDP of $2.8 trillion. If California were an independent country, it would have the world's 5th largest economy. However, according to recent studies, it also has the worst quality of life in the nation, something to address before trying to become its own country. Going north to Oregon, you'll find the highest number of craft breweries per capita. Maybe some of that profit could help those in need. Oregon has the largest homeless population in the nation. Washington is both a cyclist's paradise and a snail's nightmare. Seriously, the state is plagued by parasitic snail invasions, which is a real problem. We can't forget Alaska way up north. It ranks number 1 in the Gini Index, which measures income equality. Unfortunately, it also has the highest suicide rates in the country. Our final stop is the beautiful Hawaii, where you'll find the best healthcare services and the highest life expectancy. On the other hand, it's also the most expensive state to live in. Aloha! And that's it, friends. We've covered all 50 states and what they do best and not so well. As I mentioned before, the first step to fixing the worst problems is admitting they exist. Once you do that, you have the power to correct the things that aren't working. Did we forget something? Which state would you rather live in? Let us know in the comments below, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and share it with your friends. Always remember to stay on the incredible side of life.